Hello and welcome to, it's actually the first Cheltenham Festival preview that I've done at Cheltenham. I'm joined by Scotty Rudderham of Festival Focus, big racing fan just in general, does really like the National Hunt racing. We've done a couple of things before. Well, I say a couple, we did one thing at Newbury. That was quite good. Scotty, with everything that's going on, mate, you're on a little island and you've not been able to get over and see any proper racing. This COVID thing must have affected you maybe, well, maybe not worse than anybody else, but from a racing perspective, you must be gutted that you couldn't come over.
Yeah, definitely. It only come once a year normally, Newbury for the lab race meeting. So we were all booked to go, but disappointing. Didn't back the winner anyway this year, off cap, so it wasn't all too bad. But hopefully we'll be back soon. Hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it looks like we will be for the start of next season. But at least the main thing is we've had the whole season running, haven't we? So which means we've had clues right from the outset for Cheltenham. We've not had to miss any key races right at the start. Obviously, I like to get involved anti-post. We're doing a preview now pretty much after all the major races have run, so it's basically as good as doing it on the day. Do you stick any bets on anti-post? You got any nice tickets sat there?
I did do quite a few anti-posts, but due to technical issues, let's just say, a lot of those have disappeared. But yeah, I think Shishkin, that fours, just last April, you know, that punt you take, it was only small. I don't really go too big because of the heartbreak that happens, as you know, sometimes with non-runners, but yeah, I'm looking okay. I've got a ticket in front of me actually with Appreciate It in the Ballymore. So I'm still kind of hoping that gets switched with all the other bankers, but I'm on Appreciate It for the Supreme as well. But apart from that, I've just got the double, which I'll talk about later with you if you want, the banker double of the meeting. But that's about it really. It's gone pretty easy this year. I'll talk to you later about my other big prices that I'm on, and 20 to 1, I think, 25 to 1 for a bumper horse, and that's about it. But pretty quiet this year.
Nice. Well, it's good, mate. That's the thing. It's hard to know like how deep to go in it. And if you start back in, like probably as much as I do, there's probably people that back more than me. If you start going in quite heavy on a few races, you can't like abandon it a couple of months into the season. You've got to be doing it all throughout the year, haven't you? So some years I sit back and think, I wish I'd just sat back on a couple of summer bets, because when it gets to this time of year, as we'll talk about when we go through some of the races, there can still be some decent value. So I reckon that leads us straight into, we'll do this obviously day by day. Everyone else does it in chronological order. That's the best way to do it. We'll cover the main races. Handicaps, we haven't got the weights yet, so we'll just see if there's anything that you do think's worth a mention. But the Supreme, Scotty, when I mentioned that there's got to be some value out there, I'm the same as you, mate. I actually thought Appreciate was going to be an Albert Bartlett horse. So it shows how, do you know what? I don't think we're wrong. Even Willie Mullin said that he's got him down as a stayer, and it's just the way that the cards have been dealt and the way it's planned out now. He's gone Supreme. You mentioned there that you've got a little bit of him. Do you fancy Appreciate? Still think he's the one to beat, or is there someone else that you might be taking him on with now?
My format really for any race in the festival is to have a win bet and an each way favour. I've been looking literally for the last week, 2 weeks, and I just keep coming back to him. I was trying to take him on, but I just think it's such a weak race this year. I think Third Time Lucky, I thought, was the best of the British going into a couple of weeks ago, but he got beat up at Musselburgh by a horse that I'd actually say has a chance if he turns up, and that's Bareback Jack. I think the race was it wasn't a great race up at Musselburgh, and I think Third Time Lucky fell for the last, didn't he? But I think Donald McCain, Brian Hughes up there, they're dominating obviously all the time. And I think he's starting to get some good horses again, Donald McCain. Navajo Pass has been one of those horses that I thought would have, I actually fancied him last weekend, stupidly enough. But I just think the form of Ballyadam, he beat Ballyadam twice, and that Royal Bond win for Ballyadam was okay enough. It wasn't super impressive, but I think the way Ballyadam travelled into the race last time there, I just thought he was coming to beat him at one point, but he just seemed to get his head down and just, I think it's a bit like a Vautour or Champagne Fever kind of horse. You need further, but you need further to win a Supreme, don't you? And I can't see anything getting past him. I think if the obvious danger was Metier, if he could step up from that Polworth form, but again, I don't think the form of that race could be that strong. And Harry Fly's been a bit quiet, hasn't he? I think he's had his first winner with Momella yesterday after that 46 run. But he's coming in form at the right time with one winner. So I'd be happy with Appreciate It. I'd be to stick with him. And if he runs, Bareback Jack will be my favourite each way.
Very nice. I know that people will hear me talking all the time anyway, so I want to try and keep my opinions as light as possible. But I feel like I'm very similar to you in this race, and I think loads of people are like it as well, that there's something about Appreciate It. Again, most people probably haven't been pinned down as like a horse that wanted further. that it's not the greatest looking Supreme. He does deserve to be favourite given the fact he's off the back of 2 Grade 1 victories and he's beaten all the same horses that will be facing the Supreme. The biggest thing that's maybe a concern for me now for him is the fact that we're getting lots of like nice weather, aren't we? And we had floods and all that stuff recently. And even things like Kempton today, it was good ground. And we saw how well Tritonic won, given the fact that probably it was good ground, maybe re-emphasised how much he needs that sort of ground. But that makes me think, like you said, Ballyadam got close to him a couple of times. That last one, he did look like he was going to do him. Appreciate it did quicken away, which you have to applaud him for that. I just wonder, like, I don't think Ballyadam's that good, but I do just wonder with the ground coming a bit quicker, maybe that's going to be the sticking point for him. But then, like, Ballyadam would be the obvious one, I think. And then, so I can't even mention really Soaring Glory, but I will. Soaring Glory obviously won on good ground at the beginning of the season, Chepstow when he beat Brave Man's Game. But then we're still looking at fairly weak form, I think. That's the only thing that worries me with Appreciate. A slight bit that if the ground does go fairly quick, maybe he'll get done like that. And then the only horse I could see would maybe be a Ballyadam. But I think we're all trying to take Appreciate on for the sake of taking on a horse. Like, there's plenty of other races to have a bet in there if you don't like him, but he does deserve to be favourite, doesn't
he? He definitely deserves to be favourite. I just like you said, I think the whole season just stemmed around Fernie Hollow, really, didn't it? If he was here, he would be running in this race, and Appreciate it would be in the Ballymore, but we're not going to waste time talking about that. It's not happening, but that's what would have happened, I think.
Yeah, it's killer, isn't it? And it's even more killer because Dusart as well potentially looks like he could have been a worldie. So the probably the best 2-2-milers aren't even here, are they?
Yeah, Dusart was one I backed after. I think it was Newbury he won that, wasn't it? Same race that I think Shishkin won. But yeah, that's disappointing. I think he'll be a good chaser next year.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and he's lost his novice status. Whether they might be able to get him back for Punchestown, that could be interesting. But yeah, I think that's enough said on the Supreme. I think, like I say, I think a few people have sort of feeling it's the same, but you're right. When we start looking at other horses in behind, it doesn't really look very deep, does it? So fingers crossed. Appreciate it gets people off to a good start. Bareback Jack, fair shout, mate. Our call next, obviously, second race up. You've already mentioned the winner of the race. What do you make of Energamy, mate? I'm interested to know your thoughts because all the time people that watch, especially his first run, before he obviously came and did it in graded company, they were raving about how fast he was. I like Energamy, like from a long time back. I backed him for the champion bumper. Like, I know he's a good horse, but he's another horse I think wants further, and they're just running him at 2 miles because he's getting away with it a bit now. Could be wrong. But what do you make of him? Do you think he's actually going to be able to put it up to Shishkin like everyone else says he is?
I'm actually going to give a little lesson here to the viewers. Right, when you have a horse you backed in April last year for the festival, it's not too late to change your mind.
Yeah.
And I think Energamy is going to win the Argyle. I've been going back and forth, and I think the form is a lot stronger. I think that what the Nichols horse today is at Packer up the Man. Frank form, didn't he, for Shishkin? So that's one good thing, and he won quite well. But I just think Energamy up at the front end there, I think it's going to be a bit like the 2018 Arsenal, where Footpad just sat behind. That's what Shishkin's going to do, isn't it? When Petamouche on St. Calvados went off at 100, and I think All Mankind, Energamy will do the same. But I think Energamy's just going to, everyone knows how the race is going to be. All Mankind's going to tear off. He'll get to the top of the hill. He won't see it out. Energamy will be sitting there behind. And I think Shishkin will come and challenge. And I think Energamy will just, I think he's going to win. I don't know why I'm changing my mind. I just think he's so classy. And I think Shishkin's jumping. His first race, I was so blown away by him as a fencer. I just think he's prone he just looks like he's waiting for a mistake. I just can't get out of my mind. I'm not one to slate jockeys, I really am not. So Nico's not been riding great this year, I don't think. And I think it could be an accident waiting to happen, God forbid. But I just think Energamy will get the better of him. I think he's beat some good horses in Ireland. I think he deserves to be a bit shorter than 9 to 4. I think it could be 10 to 11 the pair on the day if they come for the money. I think it really could be.
Yeah, and like he does deserve to be where he is in the market. Maybe Joint Favs, I would say, is probably a little bit aggressive, only because of the fact that Shishkin obviously won the Supreme and Energamy hasn't got the form at Cheltenham. Is that something that would worry you about him?
I was just going to say, like, occasionally as well, you do get a horse who for me personally, I've never heard of Energamy before the start of the season, and I think his novice hurdle campaign wasn't great. I don't know if he had an injury or whatever, but he's just come out of the blue and he's just been so impressive. And I think, like you say, the Supreme win from last year has obviously earned Shishkin his right to be at the top of the market.
That's it. I do like Energumene. Yeah, he was like a decent enough bumper horse. He picked up a niggle the first year when he was bumpering. Then I think they just shoved him over hurdles, like literally just to lose his nut. Well, just for the fact of he was coming back from another injury, get the run over hurdles, and then I was always going to be about chasing with him. I still do think he would be better over further. But like you say, the way that the race could pan out, Shishkin's going to be behind him for definite. Shishkin's got to try and get past him at some point, and Energumene could be one of these horses that just doesn't want to lay down and doesn't want to let a horse go by him. He jumped a little bit out to right on his last start, but it wouldn't be enough to worry me. And I do agree with you that Shishkin's definitely looked novice-y over some of his fences, but I don't know whether I think he looks like he's quite a smart horse, so he might be able to get himself away with it, but he's also one of them that I think Mick Fitzgerald did something about his feet, saying about, I can't remember exactly what it was, but just saying how he was changing his feet, sorting himself up before a fence. It does look good because they're sorting themselves out. It looks like they're doing the right thing, but he could easily put himself into a mess by doing that as well. I think like he could worry about going into a fence. Maybe the three out the fences is quite difficult downhill, and he might end up doing that with his feet and maybe make that mistake. Looks a good race. Can you see anything else other than them two winning it?
I can't. I think it's a 2-horse race. It's going to be a 3-horse race, most people think, but I just think All Mankind's going to get found out when it push comes to shove. You know, that second last fence. I think it's a 2-horse race. It's quite boring, but I think it's between the two. Yeah.
No, the thing is, mate, it isn't boring, and that's the point with these sort of shows. There's no point in just thinking, oh, this horse could be value and just saying it for the sake of it. And obviously, the fact you're sat on a nice anti-post ticket, it's very honest of you to say that you're swayed now with an Energumene. It's also a nice position to be in it, because if you've backed Shishkin at 4-1, you might have already backed an Energumene. But even now, if you could get in him at like 5-2, 3-1, you play the pair,
Yep.
and you're still getting bigger than the price that Shishkin is to win the race on his own. So it's almost a freebie, isn't it? And
I'm looking back at the horses that they both beat. I'm not going to name one of them because I'm going to keep them for later, but the likes of Blackbow, the likes of Felix Daisy, the likes of Mick Pastor, those kind of horses, Eldorado Allen, they're all going to be set up for, I think they're Grand Annual horses, handicap horses. I don't think they're Grade 1 horses either.
No. Yeah, and that's the problem, I think, for both of them, that I don't think either have actually beaten anything of any sort of ability. But we do tend to get this with the Arkle most years, don't we? There's normally like quite a short priced favourite. Obviously, if the Supreme Horse does quite well, they force their way to the market. I'm very excited about that race though. The 3 novice chases look really good this year, don't they? It's quite nice that the first of those 3 looks like it's going to be an actual proper tussle. So enough on the Arkle, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's covered it, Dave. Yep.
Boom. We can move on to the Champion Hurdle. Mate, we're obviously swerving a race there at the moment, but we'll come back to if there's anything else. I'm just going to go for the races I want to hear your opinion on, and then we'll cover the rest for the day. Champion Hurdle, mate, I'm buzzing for this as a spectacle. It's not like, this is a race that I love to try and pick the winner in more. I think just for my own right, I like to get the kudos of don't care what price it is as long as I was right at some point in the season. This is a race that I've struggled to have a strong opinion from the outset, but I've had a few opinions in there. I won't go through all of them because they've been mentioned before and I don't want to take any of your glory, but how do you see the race, mate? Who do you think is going to win, and who do you hate of the ones that are ahead of the market, maybe?
Oh, I backed Honeysuckle the other day after she won the Irish. I did the most stupid thing, like you should never do, and that's when you go against your cliff horses, and I backed Sharjah just because of the course form, and I just thought, what was I doing there? So yeah, I backed Honeysuckle just to get back at myself after that race. I think 3-1 is just such a big price, and I was literally like, nothing can really get close to her apart from Epicent until Goshen did what he did last week. That was just like, I just can't believe he actually turned back up. I thought he was dead and buried, and that was it. We'd not see him ever again, you know. But I'm scared of Goshen. If he wins, I'm going to be gutted. But at the same time, you can't begrudge the Moors and Jamie Moore, can you, after last year? I think a lot depends on Goshen, though. It's going to be the different course this year, isn't it? We're back on the old course. I don't know if it will suit him quite as much. It's quite a galloping course, the new course. Like you see in the Stayers Hurdle, that run between the second last and the last, massive. Goshen just took it up at the top of the hill. And I don't know. I just think there's actually a horse I like at a decent-ish price, and that's Aspire Tower. I think, like Jason the Militant has franked the form today, again, from earlier in the season. It's not brilliant form, but I think Aspire Tower, if he's going to get the run up front with Goshen, and I think he'll sit behind. And he'll be staying on up the hill, and I'd rather back him each way than the likes of Abacadabras, who I think is quite weak in the finish. But I just think Honeysuckle, Rachel Blackmore, the ride she gave her in the Mares last year was just absolute genius. It's one of the best rides I've seen at the festival. I know the door opened, Robbie Power opened the door on Stormy Island, but she still had to get it. She'll be sitting behind Goshen, and I think with that £7, I don't think she can fail. I think she's going to sit there. She's going to take it up at the last, and I think she'll win. Aspire Tower will stay on the second, and I think Epatante, she could nick third, but I don't think she'll win again.
Yeah, I'm not dissimilar, to be fair, with the way that you're saying it, and I think as well, like Goshen, he's definitely scared me. It annoyed me more than anything because I like to throw plenty of darts at races as well, and I could have just backed him at 20s before we ran non-mono no bet, knowing that if he won impressively, he'd shorten up. Just stubborn because I'm not a massive fan of the horse, but well, I agree with you. I think Honeysuckle is the one to be. Epatante worries me only for the fact now, again, when I mentioned it for the first race for the Supreme, the fact that if the ground is starting to dry out a little bit, the stamina test, I mean, it's enough of a stamina test in the Champion Hurdle anyway, but the more of a stamina test it is, the better it will suit Honeysuckle, I think. The better the ground is, the less chance I give Goshen. Like, even if it's good to, like, well, even if it was soft, I'd say that Goshen can't reproduce what he did the other day. Aspire Tower is definitely interesting. I know, obviously, the Triumph last year, he wouldn't have been anywhere near Goshen based on that particular run. But like you say, what he's done this season, Jason Middleton's made that form look good. He looks too big a price at 20s potentially, but Abracadabra, you are right, it's definitely a bit of a, I think he's just a bit of a head case, isn't he? Like, and I don't know if he puts it all in at the finish, but obviously Jason Middleton, he beat him a couple of times this season. The last twice he's run against him, so that's helped his form as well. I don't want Epatante to be a dual mare champion hurdle. Like, I don't think she's good enough to deserve that status. Honeysuckle, I'd quite like to see her go and win it. If Goshen does go and do it, then it would be quite nice to see, because potentially, if he does it on better ground as well, he could be the sort of horse, like where Espoir de Lam did it. Looks like the type of horse that could go and win it a few years on the spin. But it's just like, it just looks like a proper race, doesn't it? Would you say because you're with Honeysuckle, right?
I am now. Yeah, I'm going to be with her definitely. I can't abandon her. I just think she's. What worried me about her was her speed over 2 miles. I didn't think she was good enough to win a champion hurdle, but the last day convinced me. It turned me, so I'm definitely with her 100% now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So I know obviously there's plenty of races across the festival, and we'll put our opinions in there and we'll say it. On the scale of confidence compared to all the races at the festival, would this be like one of the first 5 bets that first 5 races you'd be looking at, saying this is one of my most fancied ones, or do you think it's further down the pecking order? Because it's quite a way down for me, I reckon.
Yes, it's up there. It's up there. I'm confident. Yeah.
Oh, Scott,
it's not heart ruling head. I actually do believe if you take Goshen out the race, everybody was talking about Epatante versus Honeysuckle. It's a 2-horse race. Now it's Epatante in the back. It's a Goshen versus Honeysuckle. I just think she's better than both of them. I think she'll win.
Nice one, mate. And that makes me feel better as well. This is why I like talking to you, because you don't say what I want to hear all the time, but when you do say it, it does definitely fill me with confidence. So up the Honeysuckle. And then what we saying, Aspire Tower be the one at a price you're interested in?
Yeah, a few of my fellow people I talked to actually like him. Mr. Matt Barker, who's a fan of Festival Focus. He's an Aspire Tower fan. He's the one that convinced me to that. And the more I look at it, I mean, definitely got a good each way. 16 to 1 is a good price.
Yeah, and that's the thing with it. Like, it isn't. Not everyone is just a win punter. We're not always just looking particularly for the winner. We could be looking for something that is a bit of value. Bet365 have gone non-mono no bet today as well. I should have mentioned that a bit earlier in the show. Not that it really matters, but you get best odds guaranteed and non-mono no bet. I could be wrong looking at odds checker, but I think they're still 20 to 1 Aspire Tower. I can't see them going off that price on the day. So it's going to be a reasonable couple of selections you put in there. I need to. Well, it will happen when I start talking to Daryl. I need to start speaking to some people that are big Goshen fans. But I think we're of the same view, mate. That we're actually scared of Goshen, aren't we? Like, Goshen could win a champion hurdle, but we just think that Honeysuckle's better, don't we?
Wouldn't surprise you. It's more the disappointment, isn't it? Because you kind of knew after last year he was a machine, wasn't he? It was just so disappointing. But I'd just be more gutted that he won. But yeah, I just think Honeysuckle's a better horse. But if Goshen won, I'd be happy for connections. But yeah, that would be it. I wouldn't say any more. I'd move on to the Mare's Hurdle after that. I'd forget about it quickly if he'd won. Superb.
So Mare's Hurdle, we will come on to that, mate. I obviously was in the Benny's Jew camp for the Mare's Chase. People were saying to me, if you think Benny goes there, surely Honeysuckle's really good value for the Mare's Hurdle. I was saying to people, well, I don't know, they were talking about her for Champion Hurdle last year. So basically, I didn't get involved in the Mare's Hurdle at any point like early in the season. Concertista's found her way to be very, very short priced in there. Do you reckon she's the one to beat?
60-40 in regards to the one to beat. I think she's the most vulnerable of the favourites on the first day out of all the bankers, so-called bankers. I just don't like horses that come back to the festival and run in the same race or run novice second season. No, Let's Dance was a novice when she won it. Second season novice when she won the Mayor's Novice, and Constantine was last year. I'm still not convinced she's quite that good. Dame de Company, I think it's interesting that they're sending her back straight away. And I know Dan Skelton said today as well that Roxana was going to be pretty much full to run in this race unless the ground came up for the stairs hurdle. But I'm not really interested in having a bet in the race, to be honest. If I was going to do anything, Black Tears at a big price. I think she's not been great early in the season, and I think Constantine has already beat her. But she was second in the Coal Cup last year behind Dame de Company, who got that stupid weight reduction, didn't she, when they appealed to the handicapper. Course form just speaks at the festival, and I just think she could just run a massive race at 25-1. I think all the other good mares, like you said, are going to be either going chasing this year, or Honeysuckle and Benny are not going to be there. But I just want for a small wager for me, and I go for Black Tears each way, just with the course form, because I really don't know what's going to win the race. I'd take Constantine to run. Roxana's form has been rock solid this year, hasn't it? I think the wins she's had at Weatherby, and then she won again after she came behind Time Hill and Paisley. She came there travelling like the best horse, but she just got beat by two superstars. But no, I'm not interested really in betting in the race. I'll just go for Black Tears each way if I have to have a bet.
Good man. Yeah, I feel very similar, mates. I'm looking forward to watching the race because I think they'll be potentially handy for clues going forward. But yeah, I'm not on anything in the race. Well, I say that I backed Dame de Compagnie when there was wind that she was going to switch, but I'd be semi-disappointed if she was good enough to win it, especially considering they sent her over fences, thinking that would be the making of her. It's like this is an afterthought, isn't it? Because she hasn't done so well over fences.
Yeah, it's like last year. I think I did from a betting angle. You can do place accumulators or place bets, and you might get Roxana on the day. You might get a close to even just for a place bet first three. I think that could be something that might attract people. But part of me just wants to watch for Constantine, just watch her, and hopefully she turns out to be a superstar. And if she is, fair play to her.
Yeah, no, that's a great shout as well, mate. And obviously, Roxana was the beneficiary when Benny de Dieu fell, so she is a previous Mayor's Hurdle winner.
Keep forgetting.
Black Tears is like decent shout as well, for, like at a price. Gordon Elliott said, I think it was Quevega Mayor's Hurdle she was supposed to run in. That was maybe Wednesday at Punchestown, which had been cancelled, and then it was supposed to be straight on to Cheltenham. So potentially she needed a run. They'll get a fit at home if that's the case. But he did say that it was Mayor's Hurdle, so good shout again, mate. There are other races to talk about on the first day, but for the purpose of just doing it for the races that I'd like to talk about, National Hunt Chase, you've got to have an opinion in here. I'd be keen to know what you fancy. Maybe there's one or two, or is it just the one?
Everybody knows it just depends on if Royal Pagide turns up. That's just the end of the race, really. If he turns up, he's probably going to win. If I was an owner, I was thinking about this. What would I do if I was Rich Ritchie? I'd send him to the Gold Cup now. Just send him. I think he's got a chance. If he turns up here, he will win. Simple as that. He's not a carefully selected. He's not going to blow up. He jumps well. He'll definitely get the trip. I think if he turns up, he wins. Galvin, I just like Galvin the way he's been put away since October. He won that race, didn't he, at the showcase meeting? I think he's a little bit on the short side. He's like 7-2. I still like 6-5, 6-1. I think that's a fair price on him, but a bit too short for me to back him now. But there's one I like. I think it's 14-1. And he's been running behind some good horses as a novice hurdler and this year. And that's Longhouse Poet. I think Martin Brazel. I don't think it's Martin Brazel that trains. I think it is City Island owners. He beat Run Wild Fred, who's I think favourite for the Kim Newell, so that could end up working out well. But then I'm looking at his form here. He was in the race with the big dog who came out and absolutely belted up in the Grand National trial, didn't he? I just think that race could work out well. And the form ties in the Falls in Milan, who was fourth in the race last year, he's going to run again. I think those two, Falls in Milan and Longhouse Poet in particular, could be sneaky little each way to take on Galvin if Pat Royal Pagide turn up. And I'd say if Royal Pagide turn up, Longhouse Poet will go to about 6-7-1 second favourite. And I think he's the kind of horse that needs a decent jockey on him, with the amateurs not being there now. I'm not saying Jamie Codd will go if they're corner, but they're giving a good ride. But I think Mark Walsh might take the ride, and I think that's a big positive.
Yeah, that's a great shout. And again, followers of the Anthony Up thing will see he was a selection I put up last week, mate. So good to hear we're on the
Oh,
same
really?
page. Yes.
Oh, wow.
So that's good to get some confidence again. Like I say, value your opinions. So that's decent to hear in there. The thing with Galvin, you were bang on about the price as well. And I think the fact that Gordon put him away, people knew this was the race. I think people will be holding some bigger price tickets. But I do think a part of it was because it was the plan for so far out. Jamie Codd was going to be riding him as well. Now the amateurs aren't there. It's like not a £7 penalty as such, but the professionals, they've lost a little bit there, haven't they? That bit of edge.
I was going to say to you as well, I don't know who would have ridden him if the amateurs were there. I presume it would have been Jamie Codd, because I know Derek O'Connor rode, and it was Emsky for Ronnie Bartlett when he won the Fox Hunters all those years ago. But I think Robbie Powell rode him in October.
Yeah.
I think, which puts me totally off. No offense to Robbie Powell as a person, but as a jockey, he's not been doing great the last few seasons. So that's a negative for me.
Yeah, and that's where the price that you've mentioned there, the 5 6 to 1. I think that will definitely be available in Galvin at some point before the festival. Who knows? We'll see what the jockey bookings come out. Royal Pagaille. The good thing about him is that you're safe in your bets, knowing that. I mean, unless you backed him anti-post, then you won't get your money back. But you're safe in your bets, knowing if you were betting now, for example, that if Royal Pagaille turns up, it'll be turning up because the ground conditions, everything suit it. If the ground isn't slow enough for Royal Pagaille, I don't even know if he'll come to Cheltenham. But I like you. I think they should probably go Gold Cupish with him. But if they came here, then obviously he's got a chance. And then that means that the race is probably going to be run on slowerish ground. I like Longhouse Poet, mate. I'm the same as you on that. So winner. Quite nice as well, because there will be a few like different opinions that have sort of filtered through the season for this race. But I feel like the way that it's settled down now is probably the best time to be looking at it. So again, thank you for making me feel better. I've missed a couple of races on the first day. The Ultima and the Boodles, just them two we've missed. So do you fancy anything in either of them?
Boodles, I've written 2 things down on my notes here tonight, and that's Boodles and Kim Yor. I really don't care about. There's 2 races I never get involved in. And until the weights come out, I think St. Sam's going to be the popular one in the Boodles. If he runs, I think he might go to Triumph. Umador is one that I flagged up that potentially could run, but I haven't got a strong opinion on the race personally.
And then the Ultima, nothing in there yet?
Yes. Ooh. This is my nap of the week. And I couldn't believe he was favourite when I looked the other day, and that's Lieutenant Rocco. As soon as I saw him, the first time he ran at Cheltenham, I think he got beat by Accuser Raffles. I just said that's a National Hunt chase horse. I said he jumps well, he stays, and I do believe he's going to get about 11.2, 11.3. I think he's rated 147. I think. I just loved his run the last day. I think it was 4th last. He absolutely belted from the front. He did exactly what I thought. He stayed on all the way up the running. He just looks like a monster horse. And it's normally this time of the year I start looking for my Ladbrokes Trophy horse. He's going to be one I'm going to back when the market comes out as well. Novices have a great record, don't they, in handicaps recently at the festival, and I really like him. He's definitely the one for me, and I won't be backing anything else in that race.
Ooh, very nice. I've got it down to 3 at the moment, but again, it depends on what weights and stuff come out after. Lieutenant Rocco is definitely one of them. He's a horse I put down as one to follow for this season. I'm like semi-annoyed that I haven't backed him further up because of the price that he is, but hey ho, I still think he's a fair price, to be fair, given everything you've just said there. And you are right, the profile of him ticks the boxes, got course form, won his last race, and it's important to win at the distance as well. And like you're saying for Ladbroke Trophy as well, mate, this is the gold, isn't it? Because even if he doesn't win at Cheltenham, he's still the sort of horse you'd have on your radar for those sort of races. So it's spot on. Milan Native's the other one I quite like, just because Gordon made the comment after the national weights, didn't he, that, oh, that's a nice racing weight. And then Happy Go Lucky as well. But I think they're probably fairly well found. Decent. So that pretty much wraps up, well, it does. It wraps up day one. Anything else for Tuesday you want to mention?
I don't think so. I think that's it, Tuesday.
Superb. Well, what we'll do is I'm going to edit this after, so we'll crop this at the end of the video. There'll be a link if you're on YouTube to the next video. If you're watching on Facebook, then just go find the other video. Thank you very much.